The proclamation of the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus said to his disciples, "Go into the whole world and proclaim the gospel to every creature. Whoever believes and is baptized will be saved. Whoever does not believe will be condemned. These signs will accompany those who believe. In my name they will drive out demons. They will speak new languages. They will pick up serpents with their hands, and if they drink any deadly thing, it will not harm them. They will lay hands on the sick, and they will recover." So then the Lord Jesus, after he spoke to them, was taken up into heaven and took his seat at the right hand of God. But they went forth and preached everywhere, while the Lord worked with them and confirmed the word through accompanying signs. The Gospel of the Lord.
Our Gospel for the solemnity of the Ascension of the Lord comes from the last chapter, the closing chapter of St. Mark. We have been reflecting on the spiritual, the theological, the religious meaning of this imagery of our faith, the symbol of our faith. Jesus ascends into heaven. As we have already indicated, as we started reflecting on the first reading, let us not take these images literally. When you say going up to heaven, ascending into heaven, a cloud that takes Jesus, let us understand them in the religious sense of these images. And so, let us return to our reflection. In this last chapter of St. Mark, we find another version of the Ascension. Jesus is taken up into heaven. Heaven. In the first reading, we see a cloud that takes Jesus up to heaven. Now, we are not referring here to some space out there, outer space, or on some stars or planets where Jesus could be found now. This is theological language. When we say he ascends to heaven, the cloud takes him to heaven, that means he, after his passion, his resurrection, is now received by God in the realm or the space of God. There he is constituted truly as God. He is revealed to us fully for what he truly is. He is not just any human being. This Jesus who ministered to us, who was unjustly crucified, who died and is risen from the dead, is truly God's Son. And in his being ascended to heaven, this is God's declaration, "You are my Son. He is my Son. He shares in my life." And seated at the right hand of the Father, he shares in the power of the Father. He shares in the life of the Father and in the power of the Father over history, over creation, over all of us. Now, having said that, what do we pick up again as lessons in the Gospel? The first is this: Jesus, now seemingly absent because he is with the Father, sends his disciples to be his witnesses. He tells them in the Gospel, "Go into the whole world and proclaim the good news to all creation." This is similar to what we heard the angels telling the disciples in the first reading, and Jesus himself telling the disciples, "You will be my witnesses." And the angels telling them, "Hey, stop looking up to the heavens. Jesus sent you to this earth to be his witnesses." So Jesus, seated at the right hand of the Father, will be present to the world not only in His Spirit, but also through His disciples, through our mission, through our effective witnessing to Him and to His gospel. So, Jesus in heaven, seated at the right hand of the Father, empowers us, shares with us the power of being witnesses of God in our world. My dear brothers and sisters, today we have to renew our missionary calling. We have to respond to the gift that the risen Lord, now seated at the right hand of the Father, has given us, the gift of being His witnesses. I know many of us will say, oh, how difficult it is to witness to Christ, to witness to God in our world. Our world right now is not interested in God. Our world is interested in the good life that possessions, a good name, a career, even success could give. They don't have time for God. Well, that's precisely why the risen one, the one who ascends to heaven, sends us. He wants us to witness to the power of God, the power of the one seated at the right hand of God. We who form His body, the church, we who have received a sharing in His power, the power of love, the power of life, the power of faith, it is our obligation to witness to Him. Please, let us not accept the life and power of Jesus just for ourselves. That power is given us, that life is given to us, that love is given to us to share with others. The more godless the world appears, the more the risen Lord sends us on a mission. Hey, so that's the first. There's no escaping our missionary mandate from the Lord who ascended into heaven. And the second, the sharing of power. Those who believe in Jesus and those who witness to Jesus will be accompanied by signs. Like what? They will use my name to expel demons. They will speak utterly new languages. They will be able to handle serpents. They will be able to drink deadly poison without harm. And the sick upon whom they lay their hands will recover. You see, no human being can do all of these things by relying on his or her own human power. But how come the disciples and the believers could do these things? Because they now possess the power from on high, the power from the one who ascended into heaven, the power of God itself, the power of God being shared with us. So the vision of the second reading is true. St. Paul tells the Ephesians, in the church, we possess many gifts which are the power of the one seated at the right hand of the Father, being shared with the believers. Let us not waste this power. But please, this is not worldly power. This is the power of someone who has returned to the Father and now comes to us as the source of life, comes to us as the head of the church, comes to us as the one sharing the very life of God. My dear brothers and sisters in the Christian faith, we have a missionary mandate. Have no fear. The one who ascended into heaven comes to us to share His power. But this is the power of someone who comes from God, not the power who comes from the world again, but the power of one who comes from God. He is present in His absence. He comes to us and shares with us this power. I remember a good friend of mine who passed away a few years ago, a religious sister, a religious of the Good Shepherd, Sister Sol Perpignan. A very talented girl, a woman, even a genius in her own right. and very committed to the poor, especially to women who have been battered, who have been victimized, the powerless in the world. And this woman, Sister Saul, is remarkable for her energy, her vigor. I wonder where she gets all this, the strength to go around the world, to give conferences and talks regarding the plight of the powerless women. She becomes the voice of the powerless. And I wonder where she gets her power. It certainly is not from her. She's quite sickly. She's quite frail. And you know the power comes from someone greater than her. And this is confirmed when I visited a number of times the communities of women that she had formed. From the victims, from being victims, they have become women of dignity, women who care for others, women who lead other women into the flourishing of their humanity. Listening to them giving talks, you know Jesus is truly in heaven. And from the place at the right hand of the Father, He comes. The one who seemingly is absent comes and shares His power to the little ones, to those who believe. And there is hope. There is so much grace, so much life. The Ascension is true in the power that the little ones experience from above. The Word has been exposed. Let us now fulfill it.